My name is Evelyn Carter, and I was 31 years old the night my younger sister handed me a waiter's apron at her engagement party. Not metaphorically, an actual black apron. 7 women stood near the rooftop bar in satin emerald dresses, holding champagne flutes, while photographers drifted through the crowd, taking candid photos for social media. I stood in the service hallway, holding an apron embroidered with the venue logo and a laminated badge that said, Event Staff. My sister Harper smiled when she gave it to me. "It's temporary," she said. "We're short-handed tonight." Then she walked away before I could answer. That should have been the moment I left. Instead, I tied the apron around my waist and spent the next 3 hours carrying champagne trays through a party where half the guests believed I worked there. By the end of the night, Harper's fiancé canceled the wedding. Not because of me, because one woman in the corner had been quietly watching the entire performance unfold. But I'll get there. First, you need to understand what kind of family turns their eldest daughter into hired staff at her own sister's engagement party and calls it helping. Welcome back to Midnight Stories, where quiet people stop shrinking, and where the truth usually arrives wearing very expensive shoes. I'm a cardiac nurse, night shift, 12 years in trauma care, intensive care, and emergency response. I know how to stay calm while people panic. I know how to hold pressure on a wound while someone screams in my face. And apparently, according to my family, I also know how to disappear politely while my younger sister steals pieces of my life and wears them like jewelry. Harper was 27, beautiful in the careful, engineered way social media rewards. Perfect hair, perfect posture, perfect photos, perfect captions about gratitude and healing. She was engaged to Nathan Calloway, whose father owned a chain of luxury hotels across the Southeast. Old Charleston money, the kind of family that speaks softly because nobody around them can afford not to listen. Our mother Linda had been planning the engagement party for 6 months like it was a political campaign. Every detail mattered. The rooftop venue, the floral wall, the guest list, the photographers, the curated organic moments for Instagram. Harper didn't want a family celebration. She wanted a launch event, and apparently I was part of the staging. I should have realized something was wrong when my invitation arrived without a seat number. Everyone else received embossed cards with handwritten placement assignments. Mine simply said, "Come early, we may need help setting up." I ignored the feeling in my stomach. That's what I do. I smooth things over. I absorb discomfort. I make excuses for people who never make excuses for me. Responsible daughters become emotional janitors. We clean up messes nobody admits creating. Nathan seemed decent, quiet, educated, kind in a restrained way, the type of man who thanked valet attendants by name. I liked him immediately, which should have made what happened easier. It didn't. The Callaways arrived exactly at 7. His mother wore cream silk and old diamonds. His father carried himself like someone accustomed to walking through rooms that rearrange themselves around him. But the center of gravity was Nathan's grandmother, Josephine Calloway, 81 years old, silver hair, ivory cane, sharp blue eyes that missed absolutely nothing. She watched people the way surgeons study scans, carefully, without emotion, searching for structural weaknesses. The first time she looked at me, I was carrying folding chairs across the rooftop because Harper's event coordinator had disappeared. Josephine's eyes moved from the satin dresses to the champagne tower to me sweating in black slacks carrying furniture. Then she looked at Harper, not suspiciously, curiously, like a woman noticing a math problem with the wrong answer. I didn't think much about it then. I was busy surviving the evening. At 7:40, Harper pulled me into the service hallway beside the catering kitchen. "You need to wear this." She handed me the apron. I stared at it. "What is this?" "The venue's short-staffed and we need extra hands." "I'm a guest." She lowered her voice. "Please don't do this tonight." That phrase. People say, "Don't do this," when they're the ones already doing something terrible. I'm literally your sister, and I'm literally asking for help. Behind her, two women in emerald satin laughed beside the bar while a photographer adjusted lighting. All 7 bridesmaids wore matching dresses. I was wearing black slacks and a white button-down because Harper had told me, "Don't overdress. The vibe is casual elegant." Casual elegant, meaning not satin, not photographed, not visible. "I don't understand," I said quietly. Harper sighed the way tired people sigh at customer service workers. "Evelyn, Nathan's family is very traditional." "What does that have to do with an apron?" She looked at me for 3 long seconds before answering. "You make people uncomfortable." The sentence landed softly. That somehow made it worse. I laughed once because my brain genuinely didn't know what else to do. "I'm a nurse." "I know." "You asked me to leave a double shift early to be here." "I know." "Then what exactly makes people uncomfortable?" Her eyes flicked briefly toward my left arm, toward the faint surgical scar visible near my wrist. 3 years earlier, I'd been attacked by a psychiatric patient during a night shift. Broken wrist, 12 stitches, months of rehab. Nothing dramatic, nothing disfiguring. But Harper hated visible imperfection, especially near wealthy people. "Nathan's family notices things," she said carefully. And suddenly I understood. The apron wasn't about staffing, it was camouflage. The scar, the exhaustion, the older sister who worked nights and looked tired in daylight. I didn't fit the aesthetic, so Harper solved the problem by turning me invisible. I wish I could tell you I left immediately. I didn't. I tied the apron around my waist. Because humiliation doesn't always feel humiliating at first. Sometimes it feels strangely familiar, like slipping into a role your family assigned you years ago. The helper, the reliable one, the woman who carries things quietly while prettier people stand near flower arrangements. And Harper knew exactly how much shame I'd swallow to avoid making a scene. That's the thing about families. The people who love you longest usually know precisely where your breaking point lives, and sometimes they walk you toward it on purpose. The rooftop glittered above Charleston Harbor. Music drifted through hidden speakers. Servers moved between guests carrying champagne. Photographers captured Harper laughing against the skyline, and I circulated through the crowd refilling glasses while strangers thanked me for excellent service. At 8:15, I overheard Harper near the floral wall speaking to Nathan's aunt. "She's always been so nurturing," Harper said softly. The aunt smiled warmly. "You can tell. Nurses are special people." Harper touched her chest modestly. "It's exhausting sometimes. Trauma care changes you." I stopped walking. The champagne tray suddenly felt much heavier. Trauma care, my department, my career. Harper had worked 6 months at a yoga clothing boutique before becoming a lifestyle influencer. She'd never spent one night in an ICU, but there she stood beneath hanging orchids, accepting admiration for surviving experiences that belonged to me. The aunt squeezed Harper's hand. Nathan's lucky to have someone so compassionate. Harper smiled sadly. You do what you can for people. My fingers tightened around the tray hard enough to hurt. And then came the second lie. The attack last year was hard, Harper continued quietly, but it taught me resilience. The scar, my assault, my recovery. She had turned my trauma into a character-building anecdote for wealthy strangers drinking imported champagne beneath string lights. I nearly dropped the tray. That was the moment something inside me stopped trying to protect her. Not loudly, quietly, like a door locking. I found my mother near the dessert station. Harper is telling people she's the nurse. Linda didn't even blink. She's trying to connect with Nathan's family. She's using my life. Don't be dramatic. There it was. Every toxic family has a favorite sentence. 2 minutes later, I heard it again when I asked why I wasn't seated at the family table. Don't be dramatic. And again when the photographer asked me to step out of a group photo because staff shouldn't appear in engagement portraits. Harper heard him. She said nothing. I stepped away from the frame holding an empty champagne tray while 7 satin dresses glowed beneath professional lighting. And somewhere across the rooftop, Josephine Calloway watched all of it, every second. The tray, the apron, the exclusion, the silence. She noticed. People like Josephine always notice. The question is whether they care. At 9 o'clock, speeches began. Guests gathered beneath hanging lights while servers cleared glasses. I remained near the back beside the catering station because nobody had told me where I belonged. Harper took Nathan's hand dramatically before her toast. I just want everyone to know how grateful I am, she said emotionally. Then she began telling the story of her nursing career. My shifts, my patients, my assault, my recovery, line by line, memory by memory. She stole my exhaustion and repackaged it as inspiration, and the guests loved it. I stood beside the kitchen doors wearing an apron while 120 people applauded my life under someone else's name. That was the moment Josephine stood up, and the entire rooftop went silent.